Hey everybody, welcome back to our second session of our Baali game. We're kicking right off where we left off last game, literally moments after Preston has uttered the name that was in the back of his mind aloud, and it extinguished all of the candles in their well of sacrifice room and plunged them all into darkness. They had a momentary feeling of being watched, a very, very intense gaze upon them from wherever it was, and then we cut for the night. So we're going to pick right back off there. Currently, we have some people who are still a little bit hungry. However, Sullivan is not hungry at all. He has quenched his thirst to zero because he ate some people, literally. And then Preston and Lemont are both, I believe, at one hunger.
One, yep.
All right, so just a little bit of sensation of hunger in the back of their minds. Nothing really too bad yet. But, as I said, Preston had just uttered the name Atal Shen. The candles were all extinguished around their well of sacrifice, and the room was plunged in the darkness. So, after the last notes of that name fall from Preston's lips and fill the air, there's that breeze that comes through and it extinguishes all the lights. And then, like I said, you guys all feel like you're being watched. You're in this room, it's completely dark. Now remember, there's no electronic light down here. It was just candles for the rituals to keep the place pure ritualistically. So the only light that's creeping into this room right now is coming from upstairs, down that stairwell, and just through the crack of the door that's behind Lemont. That sensation of being watched over the space of a few heartbeats starts to slowly fade. What do you guys do?
Well, first of all, I'd like to correct you. Lemont is at 3 hunger because he fought someone downtown.
Oh, yes, at the Yacht Club.
Yeah, so I'm a little hungry. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you're a little.
I'm going to do what's known as not move.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm dealing with here. I don't know what the hell just happened, so I'm going to play it safe and not move.
Okay, so you just basically become a statue in the darkness.
Yes.
Sullivan, you were taking notes, and when the president came down, you showed him the tattoo or the branding over your heart, and then darkness.
I am also gonna kind of freeze and not do anything, but it's not out of fear. I'm gonna try and just feel what's going on because I need to notate it when the lights come back on and I can see.
Okay. Preston?
Knowing that I have made a mistake, I am going to fight back the urge to get pissed off and instead focus on clearing my mind, clearing my head, so that anything that might want to get in and try and influence my thoughts, shut it out.
It comes to Sullivan's mind that the lights aren't coming back on because the lights were the candles that got extinguished. So you'd have to relight them or head into the stairwell. For Lemont, standing there as a vigilant statue, as only the undead can, and not move at all, you don't sense anything else coming. And as that sensation of being watched starts to fade, you realize you guys are all just standing here in the cold and in the darkness. For Preston, you wall up your thoughts, make them ironclad. You feel no urges out of the ordinary. You feel no sensations or anything pushing at the back of your mind. It all seems to kind of quell itself, and your mind is still again.
All right.
After a moment or two after that feeling of being watched fades, I'll pull out a lighter and I'll relight the candles.
Okay. So you guys see Sullivan get down towards where the candles are at, around the well itself. And when Sullivan goes to light the first candle, you realize, because you're coming down here for the past couple months. You guys have been in Chicago for a little bit of time. You've been used to the Well of Sacrifice and how it operates down here, and the space that you made for it, and when it got basically consecrated, etc. And you kick one of the candles with your foot, like at least a good foot or so from further out from where it should be. Like it seems things are misplaced. And as you hit your lighter and turn it on, and that little flame kind of bursts into life and starts illuminating the area just immediately around you, you can see the outlines of Lemont and Preston in the room with you. But then you see that it seems like the well has grown physically. This before was like a hole in the ground that you guys had kind of dug out by hand and, had painstakingly carved with all the proper runes and inscriptions to dedicate it. And it's only was about a foot or so wide. right, in diameter. You look at it now, it's about 3 feet wide. Everything has been pushed out. It's as if more space has flowed up through the well and pushed it wider. So all the candles, as a result, are pushed further away from where you're used to them being.
I will definitely start lighting all the candles again so it illuminates and we can kind of see exactly what happened. And I'm going to start notating everything.
Okay. As you start lighting the candles, the room gets slowly more and more illuminated by the dancing flames that are all around you. You remember coming down here and giving your offering, that all the stuff that was inside of your body that you had to kind of expel. As you're lighting candles and you look down, this well goes down like a good 40 to 50 feet.
Jesus.
And everything's gone inside. All the past offerings you had made, all the ones you made just now, they're gone.
I'll just kind of be like, look at that shit. And I'll kind of motion towards the inside of the wall.
Yeah, I don't know if that name you invoked is the appropriate one, but I'll look down over the edge as well.
When you guys look in, the bottom of the well, the very like lowest portion that you can actually see with the light pouring into there from the candlelight, it's this amorphous, like almost moving darkness.
What did you do?
It might have been a combination of me expelling the dancers and the utterance of the name.
I would agree. If I were to use aspects like heightened senses, would I be able to glean any additional information about this darkness that's down there?
You would definitely get some more details, as you sharpen your senses and like bring your predatory instincts more to the fore. It would definitely probably, allow you to see some things more clearly and detect, other things that you may not notice otherwise.
All right, I'm going to do that.
All right. So Preston focuses for a minute at the edge of the well. And as you look down, as your senses start to kind of rush to life, and as you enact heightened senses, it's not just like, oh, I turn the eye, see better. Everything starts to come more vibrant in your view. You can hear the stillness of your compatriots with you. Whenever Sullivan makes a small writing with his pen on the paper, you hear that scratch of the tip go across the surface. And when your vision pops in, you see all the small imperfections on the ground that's revealed by the candlelight, the small cracks you wouldn't have otherwise seen, the way that the inscription guys carved painstakingly into the floor was perfectly replicated, but made slightly larger to, be continuous around the new diameter or circumference of the well. And it seems like it was carved like that from the get-go. There's no odd portions of the stone ground that looks odd. It's not like somebody stretched it. It just seems like they've gotten larger. When you look down into the well itself, you can see the sides are smooth. The entire circular, perimeter of the well, like the walls are all carved smooth, but you do see what looks like occasionally scratches, like something was trying to claw its way out. And they just all go straight down to that darkness. Now, the darkness you see, it's in varying shades of black. You get like a bluish black and like just a pure jet black, and some that's a little bit of a shimmer. And it seems like whatever's down there, the surface is almost like black water, and it's just kind of writhing around in the well. Moreover, when your senses start to enhance in other ways, you start hearing that, more sound around you. You can hear what sounds like the chittering of insects down below.
Can I roll an occult to figure out, based on the name he said, the sights we're seeing, and the insects that we've seen crawl out of him, and what the chittering is down below? Is there any lore or anything that we've come across in our studies from our sire?
Well, so unfortunately, I wish lore was a thing. But it's pretty much all handled by occult now. So I'll let you go ahead and roll your occult. It's going to be a difficult roll, but use your intelligence in your occult. Well, you got 1. There is some...
Better than none.
Yeah, there are some tales about Baali that had some... not really a affinity, but like some connection of some sort to vermin back in the old tales. But that's really it. You're not quite sure what it took to manifest that. You can't quite recall. It definitely was in some of the teachings of your sire, but you can't bring specifics to the front of your mind.
Right. And that's fair. I'll just say I don't know what it could be. Like, we don't know enough yet for me to understand what's happened.
Well,
I can't remember anything specific. I know there are a couple things that come to mind with the insects and whatnot, but again, it doesn't narrow it down all that much, unfortunately.
if I had to think on it hard, I might assume you've made something down below very happy. And I don't know that that's a good thing.
I don't think I want to make it too happy.
We don't want to wake it up just yet, whatever it is.
Well, the claw marks on the inside of the well make me think something is, if it gets much stronger, it's going to be able to work its way out.
Well, we have to do something to put it back to sleep.
Well, what would we normally do?
Sacrifice.
If the name uttered is great, the sacrifice must be as well. And the well has opened.
And we have to defile whatever we sacrifice to make that sacrifice great.
Well, if the delivery truck is bigger, you have more space to fill. So that's a terrible analogy, but the hull is bigger, which means it hungers to a much greater extent. And as for you, Preston, that tongue of yours.
I know.
We're just not ready to wake up yet. We can't wake them up till we're ready.
I feel like there's a lesson here.
Do enlighten.
Well, if Preston can't keep his mouth closed, then maybe we have an appropriate sacrifice. At least a part of one. Preston will pull out a knife. Or I'm sorry, I'm not Preston. I'm Lemont. Preston, pull out a knife and cut your tongue off. Lemont will pull out a switchblade and press the button.
Yeah, the blade will spring out with that little like shink.
Do we have needle and thread?
Oh. You have needle and thread in your own body. And
Are you going to go fishing with it?
Lemont will throw the blade into the muddy ground, tip down. I won't do it for you. You know what you did.
Pull the knife out of the ground. I'll walk over to the edge of the well.
Okay.
And I will start. I'm going to turn this into a ritual. So I'm going to incant whatever I would normally incant when we're making some kind of an offering, or not just an offering, but making what's the word I'm looking for? Making amends for
Contrition.
Contrition, yes. And that's the ritual I want to perform as I remove my tongue and toss it in.
I'll take my spot, basically, because we have a three of us, 3-point star in essence,
Right.
in my spot, and I'll basically stand there and assist with the ritual, just by incanting and doing my part, basically.
Okay. So for the ritual itself, since Preston knows that he's making the offering of part of himself for this, I need you to roll your resolve plus your occult to perform the rite, essentially. Because your resolve in this and your sincerity is going to be really important in how that ritual gets accepted, essentially.
Sure.
All right, so we've got a good roll here. All right. So as Preston gets up and starts to give this oratory about his mistake, the need to make amends and the contrition being offered for uttering this name, as you start reaching the peak of the ritual where you're about to actually grab your tongue and remove it with the switchblade given you by Lemont, you feel this almost sensation of being insulted. Like, why would you call this a bad thing? So go ahead. If you still want to go through the ritual, I need you to make a willpower roll. You need 2 successes to be able to make it through flawlessly with the cut. Otherwise, it's going to be like maybe take 1 or 2 to actually cut yourself through.
Sure.
All right. You steel yourself against both, that questioning emotion that you feel suddenly and against the pain that you know is coming, and you manage to slice through the tongue perfectly. No hesitation. And Sullivan, as you watch him, he does it without a moment's pause. The right point in the ritual, he puts a blade to his tongue and just pulls it right through. You will take a point of damage, as you now have your tongue in one hand and a bloody blade in the other. Now, again, you're not going to bleed unless you actually want to, so you just have this cold, dead tongue in your fingertips. What do you do with it?
I'm going to continue on with the ritual, and the reason being, hearing that questioning doubt in my head, that kind of makes me feel like I want to steel myself even further, because we're in charge here. I'm in charge. This is where we don't serve type of thing.
Right.
And I'm going to toss the tongue into the well.
It's hard to complete the ritual, and you don't have that much more to do, knowing the rites as you do. You cut at an appropriate time that leaves it not as awkward as you're trying to mouth words that you can't fully pronounce with a lack of a tongue. So most of it's just grand gesture and some posturing. And when you throw your remnants of tongue into the well itself, you hear it slap against the side of the well and then slide down the wall. And then almost like a brief moment of a crescendo of screams and howls come out of the well, and something grabs it. Something out of the darkness moves too fast for you to see, grabs that offering as it's falling down and pulls it into the darkness. And then the presence is gone from your mind.
I'll walk over, present the knife to Lemont.
Lamont will take it.
I'll pick up my paper and whatnot after we're done with the ritual and chanting and whatnot, and I'll start notating everything as well.
Now, did you want me to keep your? Did you want me to make sure that your mouth stays closed?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
About that point in time, Lemont will get a ding from his cell phone. It's a text message.
Okay. Lamont will check it.
Picking up, you see a simple message. It says "Family Business, Meet at the Bean," and it's signed with a rose emoji. The number itself is blocked.
Okay. I'm being summoned. Did you get a message on your phone? Okay. I guess I have to go meet at the Bean. Hopefully there's no arguments. I'm pretty hungry. Yeah, I'll go back upstairs and put my clothes on and make sure that I'm nice and clean. I don't have any like blood splatters on me or anything. And
Right.
I'm going to the park. Does anyone want to come?
You know what? I'll get dinner for when you come back.
Delightful. Well, yeah, I'll put on my coat and my hat, and
When you come home, don't kill her.
don't kill. Okay. I make no promises.
Fair. I'm gonna ghoul her if you don't kill her.
Is this someone you know already?
Yeah, I met her in the bar about 2 hours ago.
You just fed from her tonight, so
I know.
So
Okay.
I'm probably gonna kill her. You're setting me up
That's
for
fair.
failure.
Yeah. You're like saying don't kill her, but stacking the deck so that he does.
Whatever you do, you have to promise not to kill her.
And that was only like a handful of hours ago.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take to heal my tongue back?
Well, it's pretty much honestly just a lethal. You could grow it back anytime you want to with arousing.
I feel like symbolically, I shouldn't be allowed to heal it.
With your knowledge of Raite, definitely, at least not a day. You know, you want to go the rest of the night before pulling that back on, because otherwise the gesture's meaningless. You know.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, I guess I'll just make sure that I have a pad of paper and a pen
Okay.
in case I need to communicate with anybody.
Yeah, steal it from some Solomon and just throw Ashcroft down the well and see what happens. I mean, that's a valid strategy.
I sort of like that idea.
You
actually.
could also,
If I come back stronger, you're the first one I'm killing. You fucking shit.
I hate to be that guy, but you could always just text message.
That's also true.
I like a text message,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I don't know, Big Brother and all.
Just don't fucking text shit that you shouldn't text.
Hey, let's get
we're
some
vampires
blood,
doing
fellow
vampire stuff.
vampire.
Let's go do vampire stuff and kill people.
All right. So Lemont is taking the car and heading to the park.
Lemont is taking the bus because Lemont doesn't drive.
Very well.
Lemont takes public transportation. I'm an artist. I'm not an indulger.
So it'll take you a while to get there, but you'll eventually get to the park. And, you know, the bus itself, it's difficult. It's not hard to suppress the hunger once you're on the bus. It's always there. And you see opportunities everywhere that you could be getting a fix, you know, essentially. So by the time you get off the bus and start walking down the frigid sidewalk towards the bean itself, it's literally like, you know, you're almost mentally making yourself feel more hungry than you actually are because you're seeing like the occasional lone person that you're just like, I could take them right now. Nobody would know. And by willingly staving off that temptation when it's right there is making it just a little bit worse. So as you walk, you're getting a little cranky, to be completely honest. Nothing that you can't downplay. It's just kind of annoying. You know, you gotta do this thing when you could be feeding. But you finally make it towards the bean. And you see this individual you've seen around court before. You've definitely seen him around with Annabelle. He's a tall and kind of lanky looking dude. Like thin limbs that are not quite abnormally long. They just seem weird. He looks like a stiff wind would just knock him over. He's got this like long stringy like bleach blonde and like dirty blondish colored hair. A little bit of a goatee, like not quite a chin strap beard, but a thin one that goes from his sideburns down to his goatee. He's wearing nice navy blue slacks and like a nice suit jacket, but he's got one of those like thicker coats on top of it, like a longer one, like a petticoat type thing. You know him as James Royston. He's a toreador, and he tends to kind of follow and trail behind Annabelle and Orbit from what you've seen of the court so far when you actually have gone. He's a lackey, for a better word. He's kind of like a layabout that just does her bidding whenever she wants somebody expendable to go do something for her.
Okay.
He's not a bad guy. He's
A
just
fucking errand boy?
yeah, pretty much. He's not a bad guy. He's just not really prominent in stature at all.
Okay.
As you see him, he sees you just about the same time. You see him smoking a cigarette, probably just help with the masquerade, obviously. And as you start walking towards him, he kind of smiles and flicks a cigarette away and makes his way towards you.
I'll be wearing a scarf so that it's less of a concern.
Okay.
Wear one over my mouth like I'm out walking in the middle of the city.
Right. When he gets up to you, you can see this reflection of everything that's warped in the bean itself of the area around you. And at this time of night, there's not a lot of people out here. A lot of people are either hurrying to and from the area looking through it because they're thinking nobody else is out here, or they're sneaking off to do drugs in the park. Who the hell knows? Right. But this guy walks towards you with a purpose, obviously. Has a smile on his face. He's like, hey, Mr. Gale, right?
You know my name. You wouldn't have texted me if you didn't know my name.
I was just given a number.
Okay.
And I'm doing a series of these things across the area. I got a message from, Annabelle. And he says that he kind of looks around a little bit. He's like, yeah, so some stuff is going down tonight. They had a big meeting about some ruckus, some visitors coming into town, and she wanted me to just kind of give the word out to members of the family. And I know you're in a coterie with Preston, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she gave me the number to contact you guys. and says to basically give the suggestion. Obviously, it's a suggestion. If you see any people in the city you don't recognize, or anybody who announces themselves as, let's say, Lasombra, for instance, don't talk to them. Don't deal with them. Walk the other way. But if they're doing shit in your area, just keep an eye on them. If anything weird happens, take note and bring it up when we next have a conversation. Some stuff's going on with them coming in the city. There's a couple more inbound, apparently, from what I hear, and we're just not happy about it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I wouldn't be either. But no, I've not seen anything strange like that tonight. But I will definitely keep an eye open.
Hey, good. That's really all we needed to talk about. I just wanted to relay that, from her to you. Yeah.
Interestingly, the strangest thing to happen to me tonight was getting a text message from an unknown number telling me to meet them at the Bean. But
and you showed up, which is just showing that you have faith in people. I appreciate that.
well, I don't know if I have faith, but I mean, who doesn't want to follow the trail to the Bean to see where it leads? So, yes, I'll keep in mind. Although I don't know necessarily what I'm looking for, but if I do notice anyone I don't recognize, who should I just hold on to the info?
Yeah, just store it. I mean, there's probably going to be a larger meeting sometime soon to kind of address some of this stuff. I don't know the whole details, and we're trying to avoid gathering all at once because we don't. I mean, it's Lasombra. It could be a trick.
I don't. But okay.
You don't want to. Is what it comes down to. So, essentially,
are there a lot of tattoo artists in the Lasombra community?
I don't know.
Hopefully
I know
not.
that they fuck with shadows and they're jerks. So that should be almost any, one of us that I know. But regardless, you see weird people, see weird shit happening, like with moving darkness, like a la Peter Pan or something. Why don't you, and he actually reaches out his coat, pulls out a card, and kind of offers it over to you between two fingers. Why don't you swing by my shop or leave me a message, and, we'll go from there. We'll see what we need to do.
Yeah, that sounds perfectly reasonable. I will definitely do that.
You take the card?
I'll take the card. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. The card you pull over, it says Dr. Benway, Antiquities. And it has an address on Lincoln, and it has a phone number.
Okay. Does it have the hours of the shop?
No, actually it doesn't.
Okay. Is this by appointment only, or can I come browse?
You can swing by whenever you want to. If you have anybody doing things for you during the day, I have one of my people that are in the day doing cataloging and sales. After hours, we can get into the really interesting things. So come by whenever you want.
Certainly. I am a fan of oddities. I'll put the card in my inside coat pocket.
Excellent.
Okay. I'll give him one of these, see you later.
Yes.
And I'll
Take
turn
care.
around and walk back towards the L, basically. And
Yeah, as you start heading out, you hear the cigarette lighter go off as he kind of hits it, and it clicks the fire up, lights another cigarette, and you walk off into the frigid cold. And he stands there. Looks like he's waiting around for whoever's coming next. So you start heading back. Do you intend to feed before you go back home? Or are you...
I most certainly do. You see, I'm going to take the subway home because the subway has lots of dark little corners and clever little nuances. I can duck behind and wait for a drunkard, perhaps someone addicted to drugs in the throes of their high or whatever. And that's pretty much how I'll end up feeding.
Okay. So we're kind of pulling a bit away from your general feeding habits.
Yeah, I think I'm a little too hungry, and I don't really want to risk going into a nightclub.
Okay.
So I'm going to just improvise on my way home, especially since I don't trust that whoever he's going to bring home, I won't kill. So
that's a pretty damn good point, actually. Not a problem. So using the subways and the more darker corners, I'm going to say we'll probably make it a difficulty of 3. Mm-hmm. And for this particular hunting, usually you're doing a manipulation based. But in this case, we're going to probably do composure and streetwise.
Okay. Freaking 3 dice for that.
Ooh.
Please hold.
Now, a failure won't necessarily mean you don't get anything. It just means you may not have, it may be a little dangerous, or you may not have a very, good opportunity.
Right. You said my composure?
Composure and your
And streetwise.
streetwise. Because you're trying to play it off like, you're just a dude. At the same time, you're looking for somebody who's alone enough by a point in the dark where you know you can bring somebody back.
I
So,
would include my hunger dice in that.
yes, not that great of a prospecting down here where you're at. So you spend about an hour or so looking for somebody, and you find a homeless person that's on the edge of towards one of the platforms, has a sign up, and as you're watching some of the trains go by, people occasionally drop off change and go walking by. But the way that person's situated, they're right by the edge of the platform, so you can actually grab them and go off into the subway proper. There are a handful of people. It might be a little risky, but that's the best prospect you have in the last hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna chalk this one up to not finding a good victim, and I'll cut my losses. I don't think it's worth getting into trouble or potentially causing a ruckus, especially after everything that's happened tonight. So I'm just going to cut my losses and head on home.
Okay. So back at the house, Lamont's been gone for probably about 2.5 hours. Sullivan is down there studying the well, all the changes, cataloging all the things that have occurred. Preston is kind of just there. What are you doing?
I'm gonna assist Sullivan because I want to know what's going on too. I'm particularly interested in like if I feel anything. Like I know what we've seen and observed, the changes in the well. I don't know if we've if I feel anything differently, because I know that like the more we put into this well, like we can increase the size, increase the magnitude of it and its power.
Right.
Like with this size growth, I want to try and determine if like that has started to come with it or if this is something entirely different.
Okay.
So basically, what I'm going to do when he comes over and we start talking is Sullivan at this point, because of the noticeable change, is very almost manic about it. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'll start going over the notes with you about how I felt, how when the wind blew through the room after you said the name, that instant like pull of fear in my soul that I felt that turned into unhealthy curiosity, and the fact that I was more curious as to what was going on than I was for our safety. And then I'll just, after about an hour, I'll give the paper to you and be like, shit, I forgot. And I'm going to go run upstairs.
What do you run upstairs for?
I'm going to go grab my, the vehicle that I use.
Right.
And I have to go get him a hooker.
So he's like, I forgot. Here, hold this. And you run out. And then Preston's down there in the well, and here's the car start.
Yep.
As Sullivan just kind of exits stage left. So,
All right.
so you're standing there in the well with this notepad and all these scribblings he has. Let me get a... let's say we need definitely a roll from you here, but let me see. Give me a wits and awareness, actually. As you're going between his notes and the changes that have been made in the well, and as he was excitedly talking about and hurriedly going through all the stuff that had happened. So you notice that there's a new set of characters in the inscriptions here that were not there before. And
The inscriptions where in the notes in his book?
well, the ones that he wrote down that were the new ones that appeared, or the new
Yeah.
like when he did a new copy of everything that happened. When you're looking around the circumference of the well, there are new characters there, like new
okay.
letters, new words. Again, though, you guys don't speak this language. It was kind of one of those things that's like, we know what it's supposed to look like. We have the diagram, make it like the diagram, and that's what you did. These are new entire strings of characters that are now within this. And it's written in an ancient cuneiform script. So it's very much a lot of triangles and lines. Very, very thin, it's a very like skeletal looking script. And what's weird about it is that you were like, for a second going to yourself, I have seen that recently. And as you get to see it the second time it repeats, you remember where you saw it. It's on Sullivan's chest.
Shit. Okay. Is this a language that would be like out there somewhere where I could do some research and get an idea of, okay, I want to
Yep.
start working on that?
Okay. So Yale Internet and Google Translate are pretty awesome, except for the fact that these things don't really have a phonetic connection in your mind yet. So you start searching through ancient scripts. So let's have you do a intelligence plus technology roll to see how your searches start to go on the interwebs.
Can I make an argument for academics research?
Sure. Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I'd let that go through.
That was plus what trait did you want?
Intelligence.
Intelligence. And how does the specialization kick in? Is that just it?
You get a one
counts as-
dice modifier. 3, not bad. All right. So you do start to find it. It's weird when you start thinking about this, because once you start actually looking at the script itself, it's Akkadian, essentially. So like you're talking about ancient Mesopotamia, like Akkad, Assyria, Babylonia, the type of like ancient, like third millennium or so BC, like old language. A lot of the language itself is pretty much a series of triangles and dashes put together in different organizations to create sounds and syllables, etc. And when you find this, there are actually ways that you can start to put together and start sounding out some of those old and ancient words. Whether or not you want to do that is entirely, up to you, given our
I do.
past. You do? Okay, cool. But that's what you run into. Like, it's this very old script. Definitely a dead language, 100 times over. But that's really kind of what all of your inscriptions are based upon, this root language. Some of them are a little more succinct and more sparing in terms of like how many dashes and stuff there is included in it. So you get like a Persian, cuneiform, you have this Akkadian. They're related, but they're different. The ancient Persian is a lot more easy to write, whereas the Akkadian has a lot more like dashes and notches involved in the language.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend the time and try and put together what was added, like specifically like what it said before, and then what may have been added.
Translation of that sort is going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's going to take you at least the rest of the night to start getting together single words, because you have to backtrack where the words are actually, where the cutoff for the words are, and then like, okay, let me see if I can find some sort of like alphabet essentially and start putting that together. Then you have to reference an old Akkadian like online dictionary to see what you can put together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's a project, but you can start making progress in it. Now Sullivan's gone out. Where are you headed to get food for your ailing brother?
Based on where we are, where is one of the closer seedy areas where I could get a hooker?
A hooker.
Well,
A lady of the night.
you can start cruising the seedier parts of the area. It's going to be a little further out. Let me pull up ye old map to see exactly where your haven is. And you guys are off of Ravens. Yeah, you guys are way up there. Probably west. I mean, Evanston is not that great, but, just going like the west of where you guys are at, you can start heading out that way. How do you intend to lure somebody? Or is it just going to be like, hey, I'm going to pay you $50. Let's go do a thing. And you're like, knock out, come back to see my friend. Like, what's the deal?
Kind of. So it's going to be, hey, I'm going to pay you to do a thing in Transmit. We're going to make this nice and simple.
All right. So let's see if you can get somebody good. Like, God, let's see what we can do for you.
Okay.
Y'all are breaking all your normal like hunting rules here, so
Yes.
it's definitely a bit out of left field for your guys' hunting style, which is why it's going to be a little awkward for you because you don't hunt this way. This isn't the way you find food. Right. So for you, we're going to use
That's why I'm making it so bases. Here's money. You like me really a whole lot. So now we're going.
Yeah, but you still got to pick somebody that's going to be proper for what you want. So
absolutely.
Wits plus streetwise, we're going to make it a difficulty of 2.
Got me a little bit of streetwise up in this piece. Damn. I'll take it.
All right. You do find somebody, and actually your little flash works. You find somebody who's working in a corner. You're pulling up like, hey, do the thing, flash the money, and trance. They get in the vehicle, and you start heading back home.
It's that simple. I'll keep her busy with minor conversation. I'll every once in a while I'll reach over and kind of touch her leg, let her know I'm into it. We're gonna have a night.
Oh yeah, and with the
Home
entrancement,
tonight, but she don't know that.
yeah, and with the entrancement, she's just eating it up. It goes very, very well when you guys get back to the house. So you arrive probably after 45 minutes. Lemont is going to be home shortly after he's done his bit. So when Preston hears the car pull up, hears the door open upstairs, since he's kind of doing his thing, searching like what the fuck and like making notes, and you hear the door to the loft open up and two sets of footprints walk in. One is clearly not Sullivan because you hear that distinctive clacking of heels on the wooden floor above you. Then a woman's voice kind of chuckle, like giggling, as in like somebody's elated to be with whoever they've walked in with. And for Sullivan, the girl is pretty well put together, clean, very nice looking. She looks like she was going to be going out on a date with somebody. It wasn't your stereotypical, especially not in the cold, like, I'm wearing stockings and a miniskirt, I look terrible. She looks a little classier. So you get her in, sit her down on the couch, and you are small talking until Lemont shows up.
Yeah, I'll actually engage her in conversation, and I'm gonna just kind of try and find out what I can about her, so I can try and relate to her. And I'm gonna sense this in.
Your charisma plus blood sorcery, and she gets her resolve.
I got 2. Not bad. God damn.
So
That's a
she's relating to you this story of essentially having no other alternative but to go and make money where she can. And it's not a sob story. She's like, yeah, this is just better for me. It's easier. I make my own hours. I'm my own boss. I pull in good money. And you're like, yeah, of course. Wow. And you're like, tell me what you've done. And you start reaching out with your powers. And as you reach out into the void to kind of figure like what the horrible things that she's done are, and to have them, to coax them out of her, to reveal themselves to you, you get nothing. Like, she's a stone wall. It's pure
It's kind
interference.
of impressive, actually, especially here in like our home,
Yeah.
where in theory I should be able to get that more fluidly. I'll be impressed if she survives the night. I have plans.
Yeah, she definitely is like, nah. Got time for your fucking blood sorcery shit.
I'll offer her a drink. Yeah, and then I'll start making good on the money, I guess, until he comes home.
Yeah, you get her like a glass of wine or something you guys have like above the fridge for show, and just talking with her, the money's exchanged. She's like, all right, so what's the deal? And you start just delaying her with small talk. Oh, here's what we're gonna do. Blah blah blah. I got this friend. And when you're about that point, Lemont steps in. Lemont steps into the warehouse loft, and you see in the living room area, Sullivan is talking with this woman dressed in like nicer like jeans and like a nice top. You can smell already, like when you walk in, she's wearing just a little bit too much perfume that kind of irritates your nose a bit. But she's all done up very nicely, and she's just talking with Sullivan about, the plans for the evening, which involves some sort of entertainment.
Okay.
I'll be like, good, you're here. Now the fun can begin.
Okay.
I'll take her by the hand and we'll walk over to I'll move the curtain to his bed, and I'll be like,
I'll go over and I'll introduce myself and offer my hand because I don't know what the hell,
You walk over like, hey, I'm Lemont. She's like, hey, hon, we don't need names. Like, I'm sure that's not even your real name anyways, and that's okay. I'm used to it by now. Your buddy's already paid me.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well,
I'll turn the TV on.
Click. You get in the living room, turn on the TV. So to feed, you're going to get a good like couple of scenes if you wanted to take slowly from her.
yeah.
Depends on
so-
how you want to slake your thirst.
Well, so not to belabor the point, but I mean, she's a prostitute. I don't intend to do anything terrible to her.
Right.
Again, because I'm really just trying to feed. So, I'll go through the whole process. Like, I'm a guy that my buddy bought me a hooker for, and yeah, I'll engage. And while we're engaging, I'll subtly take the blood that I need, and hopefully not lose my shit and tear her throat out. That sort of thing.
Once you get the first bite in, and that blood starts to flow into you, and you feel that sensation of like, finally, you've been waiting, for like hours and for an eternity, it seems, to actually have more blood in your system. Over the course of this scene and your copulation, you manage to take 2 blood from her, and that leaves her safe to continue the night and not have a threat to her health. And it knocks you down to 1 hunger. Now, the question then is, do you intend to finish her off and slake your entire thirst, or are you going to let her go?
No, I don't have any intent to kill her.
Okay.
I'm not. I understand what's at risk here, and I'm assuming if the Torador clan is capable of sending me text messages with unknown numbers, it's not beyond the realm of believability to think that they might just have an eye open for when my coterie mate goes out and picks up a prostitute across town and brings her back to our haven. So
Probably
I'm gonna
not.
let her. I'm gonna let her live.
Okay. She'll be a little woozy.
Confident in the knowledge. I'll let her live, confident in the knowledge that she had no idea what she was in store for, and that luck was on her side tonight.
Yeah. By the time you're finished, she's a little woozy, but obviously, she is very relaxed. The wine is what she's going to attribute her being a little sluggish to, and she apologized. She's like, "I'm sorry. I usually have a better head for wine than that." But pleasantries are exchanged once the transaction has been completed, essentially, and she very calmly starts putting her clothes back on. You notice that she's very confident in just about every movement she makes. She's probably had to be to do her job and survive, especially working alone. So when she's done,
Does she have tattoos?
no, not at
Okay.
all.
I won't even bring it up then.
She walks out of your sleeping area into the living room. She's like, "Hey, hon, can I get a lift back? Or you want me to Uber out? Whatever is best for you guys." I mean, that
No,
was
I'll give you a ride back.
thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'll get up and I'll take her back.
Okay.
I'll ask her what her name is. And I'll just basically be like, "Man, you seemed awesome. I don't want necessarily this to be the last transaction. So I will ask her for her phone number. So next time, I can just go straight to the source.
Yeah, she'll give you
have
her
to look.
number, and she'll say her name is Sarah.
I'll
doubt
again engage her in small talk while we're going back, and I'll take her back to where she was at.
Gonna try your sense of sin again.
Nope. But I have future plans for her.
So you'll get back after. Well, since it doesn't, you're not looking around this time around. So getting back is a lot faster than it was the first time. So within about half an hour, you make it right back to the house. During this half hour, Lemont feels a lot better. As the blood has now flown through your system, you've got that little slight flush of warmth through the top surface of your skin. That sensation of just being sated for the time being is nice. Of course, there's still that gnawing in the back of your head that wants you to go out again, but you are content right now. Preston is walking around the apartment at this point in time with a ton of notes, and he's scribbling weird shit and designs on paper.
Once Sullivan is back from his errand, I'll go over and I'll text you. 'Cause I can't fucking talk. Show me the writing on your chest.
I'll just take the shirt off.
It matches exactly what you saw down below.
So it's the same. Okay, so it's not different words or phrasing that's on it.
It's the exact same script and the pronunciations. And as you've gone through the past hour or two since the feeding occurred, you at least put that together in the series of glyphs that you've seen. You get that name, Atal Shen.
Okay, I'll just make sure that I notate that the writing is the same on him than is around the well, right? It's around the well.
Yep. It's imagine it being rimming the edge of the well in series of script, kind of like your dedication.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll just catch everybody up on what I was doing via text, but not being outwardly like, hey, I'm fucking researching what some fucking, demon was, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll let them know what I've determined the language to be. And it's Akkadian.
I'll definitely start helping him do what he was doing before, which is basically trolling the internet to find out translations, or at least an alphabet. I don't want to look for those exact things to give anybody who might be paying attention to our devices an idea of what we're looking at, but
Right.
yeah, I'll try
So,
learning shit to help translate.
as an archaeologist, somebody who's dabbled in this type of thing before, you've seen this kind of script. So for you, like, you kind of know the general area, like what this cuneiform is, and the places that he's found are pretty much the ones that you would use anyways. There aren't a lot of, well, there are a handful of sites out there that will help you translate this, but there aren't that many. So you're finding a lot of the same sites that he's been using, and a lot of the same alphabets, maybe with a small variation here and there on like certain stresses on vowels and pronunciation, but relatively the same amount of stuff he's getting. It's just with the amount of script that's along the rim of the Well of Sacrifice, and no real definitive cutoffs for when words start and stop in this that you've seen. It's like continuous strings of characters. You're like, all right, where does it stop? Because with one more character added, it's a completely different word or pronunciation or whatever. So it's a little bit of a struggle to really go this route to get a good translation. You can get some really weird ones, but to get a solid one, it's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be a
prepared to
while,
put in
and that's
that work,
okay.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this I see this as something to work on, like between other things or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely.
Just something to plug away, and good for me for tonight because it's not like I can go out and talk to anybody. So,
Right. All right. So is that how you guys want to spend the rest of the evening? Because it is like 3 or 4 in the morning at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So the research has crawled into the early morning, and as the sun starts to kind of cast his weight down upon you guys, as it begins to kind of like tease towards the edge of the horizon, y'all get to sleep, make sure everything's charted up properly. You blow out all the candles down below in the Well of Sacrifice to make sure they're out, so no the house doesn't burn down during the day. Everything's locked up. Everything seems cool. Y'all slumber for the day. All right, that concludes our 4th episode of the Baali Chronicles. Clearly some things have gone on at the nest that they're not quite sure how they occurred. They know there's more than likely some connection to whatever it is that they saw at the Yacht Club and what they brought back with them. So that's a cause for some investigation and some research, as you can see. In our next episode, they're going to be journeying out a bit more into the city, getting involved with some of the kindred that populate Chicago outside of their little coterie. So we'll see how that goes.